So this session is connecting agritourism internationally and building association growth, just to make sure you're all in the right place. And I encourage all of you who are sitting a few rows back to move up towards the front just to participate a little bit more if you want to. My name is Andrew Graham. I am the Direct Markets Coordinator at the Northeast Organic Farming Association of Vermont, and I manage the Vermont Farmers Market Association. So if you want to know anything about farmers markets here or elsewhere, come talk to me. And I have the privilege of being the moderator of this room. So if you come back to this room, you'll see me again. We have Giulia Gruini, who is a PhD student from Italy, doing our Zoom management. And I want to just make sure that everyone knows that due to the hybrid nature, we want to try to capture all the audio, both for people who are watching on Zoom, but also for the recording. If you or some of your colleagues want to watch a recording of this session later, we want to be sure the audio is recorded. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to go use that microphone in the center aisle. We also are dealing with some difficulty from some of our presenters. Jacqui Taylor is the Director of Rural Tourism Africa and is experiencing some electricity difficulties in South Africa right now. So we're hoping that she'll be on, but it doesn't appear that she's on right now. And one of our other speakers, Pandering Taware of the Agritourism and Rural Development Authority of India, is experiencing monsoon rains that are, well, it's loud there, basically. And he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to connect. However, we do have Suzi Spahr, who is the, well, I'll let her introduce herself, but she is one of the foremost agritourism authorities here in the United States and the executive director of one of the main Farm Direct, the North American Farm Direct Marketing Agency. And then we also think that we will have Rob Copley of Copley Family Farm here presenting as well via Zoom. He is in England. So as soon as Suzi's ready, I will hand it off to her. But I hope that you're all happy to be here in Vermont. And thank you very much for your opening presentation, Mario. And I appreciate that you are bearing with us and taking the time to get to know each other and see who's in the room with you. I find at these conferences that the most unexpected connections can happen just based on where I choose to sit in a session and who, you know, is sitting behind me and hands me my paper that I drop.
So we're going to punt on this a little bit. Hello, everyone. My name is Suzi Spahr, and I am the Executive Director for NAFDMA Agritourism Association, an international agritourism association that is based in the United States, but we have members that are located in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and in Australia. I do have a little bit of a cold, which is why I am trying to distance myself. So I do apologize in advance. I am wearing my mask and I am trying to distance. I am using my hand sanitizer and everything else. I am trying to, again, keep myself away from everyone. I do apologize for all of the AV issues that we are apparently having. I do have information and answers from our various guests that should be on the panel today, and they are able to connect apparently using the wrong link. And so our moderator over here is attempting to get them into the correct link. We're not exactly sure what's happening, but we're going to try and make this happen anyway. And if it has to happen that we're doing this as more of a roundtable with all of you, then that's just the way we're going to do it. And it's going to turn out fabulously. So the individuals that were going to be participating, I do want to acknowledge them though, and make sure that we provide some background on all of these lovely individuals. Jacqui Taylor is the founder and managing director of Rural Tourism Africa, the Agritourism Training and Agritourism Africa. Jacqui has succeeded in developing domestic and international communication and marketing strategies for several destinations. Her focus is currently on sustainable tourism, ecotourism, and rural tourism initiatives. Jacqui started the rural tourism in September 2016, and she is based out of South Africa. Rob Copley is with the Copley family farming, who has been around for 140 years. They are in the Midlands of England. Rob and his wife Heather came back to Yorkshire in 2003, and they run a very successful farm shop and retail direct to the consumer. They run the Moo Cafe, and he is the prior director of the Farm Retail Association based in the United Kingdom. And I always butcher this individual's name. I believe the correct pronunciation is Pandering Taware. If I say it incorrectly, then please, that is entirely on me. And he should correct me if we can get him into the system. So Pandering is an entrepreneur and descendant of a farming community. He founded the Agritourism Development Corporation in 2005 in India to facilitate agritourism in the state of Maharashtra. The Agritourism Development Corporation now has 2,500 trained farmers and over 600 agritourism locations in Maharashtra. And again, my name is Suzi Spahr. NAFDMA International Agritourism is based here in the United States, but as I said, we do have farms that are located throughout the world. We work to provide networking, education, and resource sharing opportunities for all of those farms throughout the year. We do have a convention and various other opportunities for sharing and resource connecting. There is information that I left at the back. I encourage you to take those materials with you, either again now or at the end of the time. There is also information on our virtual link for the Whova system. So the first thing that I was going to ask everyone was to share a little information about yourself and your background in agritourism, and to share information about the association or organization you represent, and what type of agritourism providers are represented within the organization. The information that Jacqui in Africa had provided was that agritourism is not known within the tourism or agricultural communities in South Africa or Africa at large when I identified the need. I grew up on a farm, and we hosted mainly educational tours of the orchards to international visitors. If there was a request, we simply did what was needed without a charge. I came from a family of human rights activists, and this has helped me to find the courage and determination to confront issues in rural areas which required a more interventionist approach than that if I was born on a different continent. From the 1970s, urban migration from rural areas became obvious. One simply had to drive within an hour to a town or a city to rural areas to see dilapidated houses on farms. In 2016, though ostrich and wine tourism had become an element of agritourism, there was little mention of agritourism as a whole. So I registered the NPO, Agritourism South Africa. The growth was due to interest expressed by farmers in Africa. So Agritourism South Africa became an Agritourism Africa based on the same code of conduct we had drafted initially, which restricted membership to farms. We have the same consolidation within the agricultural industry as elsewhere in the world. And in a nutshell, Agritourism Africa focuses on farmers and rural tourism Africa on rural areas, which include rural towns. So I guess at this point, because we've not been able to have any of our panelists, I would actually open it up to the group at large. I know we do have some association providers who are with us here, and I would encourage you to step up to the mic and to share a little bit about what you do and what type of agritourism providers are represented within your organization. And I will call you out if we need to, so step up. I have no shame and I will call you out. Yes, I will come over there. Yeah,
Do you want me to wait?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. All right, so my name is Lee Rankin, and I am from Banner Elk, North Carolina, which is near Boone, North Carolina, home of Appalachian State. For those of you who know the area, I feel like I should turn the other way, but that's okay. Is it okay? So I'm also the president of the North Carolina Agritourism Networking Association. So I'm very involved in agritourism at the state level and also a local level. And I have a farm, Apple Hill Farm, where we do agritourism. So we are predominantly a fiber farm. We raise alpacas, llamas, Angora goats, and a slew of other animals. And we do tours of our farm that are educational guided walking tours. So we have been doing agritourism probably since 2006. We kind of came in the back door, as in people were coming up the driveway, and we're at the top of a mountain at the end of the gravel road. And when they got there, it was really rude to tell them no. So we would talk to them and engage in all sorts of conversation with them. And then they would leave, and 45 minutes later, we'd get back to doing alpaca shots or whatever it was we were doing. And I said, hey, maybe we need to do a tour and invite people to come at a specific time. And so that's how we started into agritourism. It really was the back door. And so we have been successfully doing it since then. Last year, we did 1,670 walking tours of our farm, which is quite a few tours. We're open 7 days a week right now. We are a little bit seasonal, and we're open year round. So we have extended our season all the way, a busier season all the way through January, because there's lots of people that vacation in the mountains and go skiing, but they can't go skiing every day that they're there. It's too expensive. So they're looking for other things to do. So we do tours between Christmas and New Year's and around holidays. So that's a bit about me. Thank you.
And let's have one other.
Good morning. My name is Arlene Wilson, and I'm representing Finger Lakes Farm Country. And the Finger Lakes is a set of 9 lakes shaped kind of like a hand and fingers, hence the name, in upstate New York. And we are a collaboration of 5 counties, Tioga, Chemung, Steuben, Schuyler, and Yates, that realize that you are much stronger working together than individually to promote agritourism. And so we're a collaboration of each county's cooperative extension office and each county's chamber and tourism promotional alliance. And so we've created a website, and then we've taken it to the next level and created an app, Finger Lakes Farm Country. And so that's what we do. And we're helping to market over 200 agriculture-related businesses, growers, and producers.
And it appears we have Rob now on the line. Rob, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear, Susie.
Wonderful. Woohoo. All right, Rob, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, and the type of agritourism providers represented within your area?
No problem. Well, I'm Robert Copley from the UK. I'm just off of London. For 20 years, I've run Farmer Copley's Farm Shop with my wife. It's a large retail store that's open 360 days a year with butchery, produce, scratch bakery. We also have a 160-seat cafe. We do U-Pick, and we also do weddings. And we're quite a normal, I mean, we're larger than normal, but we're quite a normal UK farm market, farm shop. We tend to be based around butchery and produce and open all year round. So I also used to be chairman of the Farm Retail Association, which is very similar to NAFDMA, and it's an organisation in the UK with about 300 farm shop members.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next question now, which is to share some examples of the ways in which the organization provided networking opportunities to your members. So for NAFDMA, we provide an annual convention, a farm tour, a learning retreat, which is an opportunity where we go to a single farm and we go in depth with that farm to learn all about their farming practices, their operational practices, and go really behind the scenes with them and in depth. We provide webinars, online webinars, and then member roundtables. And then we also have a peer resource sharing, which is online and accessible to any of our members. Jacqui had said that Africa, in particular, the economies of countries which focus on agriculture as one of their main income sources, have highly organized agricultural associations. For example, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana, etc. Farmers network through these associations and provide a unified approach toward governments. I belong to several agricultural associations, but the focus is on agriculture and not tourism, which is a slightly different take on the concept overall. Rob, did you have thoughts you wanted to share also on the ways in which you've provided networking opportunities to your members in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, so the Farm Retail Association, it does operate very similar to NAFDMA. I mean, I would say the big thing is we do the annual conference where we'll do a day of bus tours and then a day of learning. What's been very useful this year, we've been doing monthly Zoom sessions on topical things. I mean, there's cost acceleration and wage acceleration in the UK at the moment. I don't know if that's a worldwide thing, cost of living. So, you know, we'll get together, get a professional in and do a Zoom session. They work really well. And then lots of training in the back for best practice and food hygiene. So, and the other thing we did this time, we spent a bit of money with Harper Adams University and did some research on how much UK farm shops are bringing to the economy. And we're able to go to, well, lobby politicians or get it out in the press.
All right. Does anyone else have anything that is unique within their associations that they've done that is different from anything that's been discussed? Go for it.
Within the Vermont Farmers Market Association, which is not a group of farmers per se, each market is, you know, other sorts of producers, but has some farms. I've been doing regional gatherings because although Vermont is a small state, people tend to just inhabit their local region and not necessarily want to travel very far to interact with people, even if it's a professional connection. So I have been holding regional events, bringing together the farmers market organizers within a county or a couple counties, just so that they can connect with folks who are doing their job or doing a similar job nearby, even though it may not be the most useful because the markets themselves may be quite different in terms of size and you know, sales, etc. It can be helpful, and then if people have more specific questions, I can connect them to somebody who's perhaps has a more relevant experience because their market is similar to that person's.
Fantastic. Any other unique ideas? Please come up.
Hi, so Rebecca McKenzie, President and CEO of the Culinary Tourism Alliance. We're a not-for-profit based out of Ontario, Canada. One of the things that we more recently did through the pandemic, working in collaboration with the Tourism Industry Association of Canada, our national sort of advocacy board, we created a series of webinars for the industry through their Elevating Canadian Experience program, and one was specifically on agritourism. It's a 45-minute long, almost, I guess, between 45 minutes and an hour webinar that really helps to educate the industry about what is agritourism, how can they diversify on-farm revenue. So again, those types of tools to help. And moving forward, we're really excited that we'll be launching. We did a big tourism recovery program in the province of Ontario called the Great Taste of Ontario, which specifically does highlight agritourism experiences and ways where any visitor to Ontario can get out and have a great taste of place. And we're going to be taking that program national this year as part of our broader recovery program. So pretty exciting opportunity to bring more national awareness, which I think is a constant effort that we all have to do regardless of where we live, is to give not only consumers ideas about where they can travel and have that on-farm experience to learn and to really, get their hands in the dirt, but also to really work with government to get them to understand the true value of agritourism as a demand generator for rural tourism. So, it's obviously very interesting. A lot of these organizations are playing two hats. They're trying to create consumer products and experiences while also educating industry. And just want to say it's a real shame that we're not seeing some of these folks that are here today completely understanding all the tech issues, but wouldn't it be great if their governments actually supported them coming to tell this story of the great work that they're doing in their own destinations. So just wanted to put a shout out and say, we miss you, panelists, wish you were here. And because I think their best practices are certainly something we can all learn from.
I do want to ask a follow-up question about the initial
Webinar?
initiative
Yes.
that you'd said. Are you presenting those to more commodity-based farmers, or are you going to those who are doing wholesale production of specialty crops?
So typically what you're finding, and the webinar series was actually created as a result of the pandemic. We initially were going to be doing these workshops from coast to coast to coast, about 40 of them across the country. So we ended up creating the series and then working with different destination partners across the country to deliver very specific modules. Typically, the agritourism modules would have been delivered to small to medium-sized enterprise farms, not necessarily the larger commodity groups. There is still a lot of work to get even those operators to see themselves in tourism, so to actually reach them. So that is often the challenge. And I think Beth mentioned it very succinctly in the conversation earlier. It's sort of, farmers are farmers. They aren't necessarily tourism experience developers or tourism marketers. So that the channel that not-for-profit organizations who get involved in growing agritourism and culinary tourism are very important, because they teach that difference. And then they know how to get to that audience to give them that education and then help them with the business modeling and dealing with all of the things like policy and regulation on land use, and what can they actually, how to navigate challenges with your local, food safety inspections and that type of thing. So it's an ongoing work. And so while we do have a lot of our organization, we have a lot of sector organizations that belong to us that aren't just tourism associated. So we use those channels and those partnerships to get the information out. So whether it's the, Ontario Farm Fresh Marketing or the Ontario Fed of Ag or different agricultural groups, that's where they also need to promote those workshops so that we can get directly to the on-farm operators.
And I believe you had something else.
Hi there, I'm Caroline Miller from Scotland. I represent Scottish Agritourism. We're working with about 300 individuals across about 160 farms in Scotland, and the main three things we're doing is representing the sector, bringing them together, creating a strong voice to speak to government, consumer marketing through Go Rural Scotland campaign, and the other thing is business support, and it's mainly all about peer-to-peer knowledge transfer and sharing of knowledge. So we've got a conference coming up on the 6th and 7th of December, but we also do a series of regional events. We also do a series of
events by type, so all the farm cafes getting together, or accommodation, or farm tour businesses getting together. We also, I'm speaking on Thursday about our knowledge transfer programme funded through the Economic Development Agency, our Agritourism Monitor Farm programme. So that's about tracking growth in different businesses, and it's a model with various tiers out, but basically it is about getting businesses to build trust with each other and to share knowledge. So yeah, really pleased to be here. There's 7 of us here from Scotland. And you know, we are truly trying to grow our sector body, but a bit, just one final thing is that we started a WhatsApp group in COVID, which then had 150 people in it, all sharing information about where to go for COVID support, you know, helping each other with mental health and issues in businesses and everything. So we now have those split up into regional groups, and they're a daily way, and we have about 50 interactions per group across 5 groups in Scotland on a daily basis across WhatsApp. So great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Please, sir.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim. I'm a farmer from Tasmania, Australia. I'm a small minority group in agritourism in amongst a massive tourism industry. And so the Australian government and also our state government of Tasmania have said the word agritourism is a clumsy word, and they don't really know how to promote it, push it, what to do with it. So in our state of Tasmania, we've got about 1,600 tourism operators, and I've got a sort of a circle network of well-established multi-generational agritourism businesses, and there's about 20 of them that have taken their farm and diversified into tourism. So we're on association-wise, I'm involved in the Tourism Association, and they're trying, you know, really good and up and running at that whole arena of working together. There is a component of wine tourism, and so there's 200 wineries. They're not necessarily, you know, that's a bit of a conversation point about what's the difference between wine tourism and agritourism, where you've got kids and families and animals and stuff, compared to a single focus target. So down in Tasmania with our 15 businesses, we're attempting to get together, and I'm sort of part of that. We are geographically spaced from each other, so it's not always easy, even though it's a small island. But the state government is just running an introductory training. They're spending some government money to identify and assist about 100 farmer business agri properties to get started in agritourism and build up some critical mass, and help people get started. So that's what we're doing in Tasmania. I don't doubt that the mainland states, the bigger states of Australia that are closer to the urbanised centres and have got a greater product mix, may have more agritourism collective. I don't know about that, but we do have a national body called Australian Regional Tourism, which really works around local government, which is counties and shires, and working about regional economy, and they do have an agritourism component, but they're not branched down into Tasmania very strongly. That's just an Australian perspective. She is the reason I'm here now. Yes.
Great. All right, we're going to move on to our third question here. So this particular event, which is the International Workshop on Agritourism, is designed specifically to connect individuals across the globe in the agritourism industry. In what ways have you personally, or has your association already been attempting to make these global connections? And to that end, what beneficial outcomes have you seen? And I would say that for NAFDMA, we already have been working to make global connections by asking other associations across the world provide webinars or presentations about the agritourism located in their particular countries or in their areas. We actually had Jacqui, who was supposed to be part of the presentation, do a presentation basically on what agritourism in Africa is. And the concept behind that is not obviously that you're going to be able to take an idea from Africa and very specifically implement it in Canada, let's say. But there are elements of an idea that can be taken and can be modified and used in your area. And good ideas are good ideas across the globe. So I'm actually going to turn it. Looks like we also have Pandering joining us now, but I'll ask Rob first. We'll make sure that Rob's on and able to speak, and then we'll turn it over to Pandering and have him hopefully speaking as well. So Rob, what thoughts do you have on this question?
Well, hopefully I won't drop off. I'm actually doing this from my mobile phone now, which seems to be the best. Across the globe has been invaluable to me at Farmer Copleys. I mean, I first attended NAFDMA over in America 15 years ago, and that's what made me come back and give pumpkins a go. And I've certainly, for the last 12 years, been the fastest growing pumpkin event in the UK, and lots of people have emulated that now, and I still class myself as the UK's largest pumpkin festival. On top of that, when I came to Lancaster in Pennsylvania, I went round a place called Kitchen Kettle Village, where there was a jam kitchen. It was being done by the Amish. Now, I'm currently on with building a version of that in the UK at the moment. It hopefully opens in December. And it was also in America with NAFDMA, where I bumped into John Stanley, and he'd been doing a lot of planning and advising to farm shops in America. And I managed to get him over to the UK, and he helped design sort of our phase 3 farm shop, the largest phase we did. So, I mean, another example is Quinn's up in Canada. We had a bit of a bet one day that if he did butchery, I'd grow apples. Well, he is doing butchery and I am doing apples. And then I've also always pushed to try and get the FRA and NAFDMA closer together. I believe if you're a member of one, you should be able to go to any meetings of the other, and the conference as members' prices. And I'd love to see that come to fruition. And as you know, Suzi, you're all invited over here. You're coming over in April, I believe. We have had the Canadian Fruit Growers Association over. John Stanley once brought a coach load over. And, you know, you can't do exactly the same, but there's always learnings to be had. And some of it is outside the box thinking. So.
Thank you. I was very much hoping that you would express a lot of those different things that we have worked together collaboratively on. So thank you very much.
Brilliant.
All right, Pandering, do you mind jumping on? Are you able to talk to us?
Namaste, ma'am.
Lovely, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. There is a lot of storm and rain going on the farm here, but namaste from Agritourism India, all the session chair, Suzi ma'am, also my respected co-panelist. Thank you so much, the International Committee on Agritourism, giving me this opportunity to speak on connecting agritourism internationally and building associations growth. As you all know that Agritourism India is into agritourism for last 20 years, and we have an association in Maharashtra state of India. And we have almost 600 farmers connected to our organization. As far as the Department of Tourism, Government of Maharashtra is concerned, we are the first state in India to declare the agritourism policy, and government is all keen to help the farmers through agritourism and diversifying the farm income. So as get sustainable farm income, farming and livelihood opportunities for farmers. Suzi madam, there is a use lightning and also the rain. I think if you can excuse me please, because I'm not able to hear the sound of the rain. So please excuse me now.
All right, thank you.
Use rain and lightning is happening. There are no lights. I'm speaking on the mobile light here. So, but yes, there is a necessity to create a world agritourism platform so that we can share the knowledge and information about agritourism all over the world, because there is so much of learning happening from each other country, and this will help not only the government, but this will help farmers to learn more about agritourism and best practices of agritourism across the world. Yes, we, for the networking purpose, every year on the occasion of World Agritourism Day, we conduct International Agritourism Conference, also the National Agritourism Conference. Last year, during the COVID pandemic, we organized virtual online agritourism conference, and you may be surprised that almost more than 30 countries people joined us virtually and suggesting us to create a world agritourism platform. I think Suzi ma'am, I should stop here because there is huge rain, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And I think USA and America and India have a lot of common things in agritourism, and I think we should get connected, join hands, and let us see how it goes. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Namaste.
Thank you. All right, does anyone else in the audience have any comments that they'd like to add on ways that they have been attempting to make global connections and the benefits they've seen? Going once, going twice. All right, we'll move on to the next question. In what ways do you believe we can provide best practices and resources to professionals in our home countries and to those around the world? And I'll provide the comments from Jacqui. She has said, I'm a firm believer in farmers talking to farmers, as this is normally done in a spirit of sharing and respect. I have not been on holiday for years, as have many of my fellow African compatriots, especially farmers. Rob, do you have anything you want to add?
This was probably the hardest question for me, as in sharing best practice across countries doesn't always work. In fact, very often it's the opposite. I mean, the first thing when I get a load of Americans or Canadians in the shop, they're going, God, your eggs are not in the fridge. Well, it's illegal in the UK to put eggs in a fridge, whereas I know in America and Canada, it's illegal not to put them in a fridge, I believe. And, you know, a prime example is the Kinder Egg we have in the UK. In America, that'll kill you. You're not allowed to eat it, but we eat them every day. And, you know, so there's lots of issues across countries, but sharing best practice in the same country, I mean, it works really well as training and Zoom. Yeah.
Pandering? Is there anything you would like to add?
Hello. Ma'am, I'm not able to hear anything. I mean,
Okay. Anything from anyone else? Apparently this was a difficult question. All right, we'll move on to the next one. What benefits do you believe may exist to associations building relationships across geographic lines? For our organization, certainly ideas and best practices across the geographies spur creative minds worldwide. And again, I go back to one idea that is working in one geography is not going to work necessarily verbatim exactly as it is working in another area, but a good idea is a good idea. And so that allows creative minds, and I don't care who you are, any agritourism venture requires almost always a creative mind. And creative minds therefore then take a good idea and they implement it in their best way for their farm. Jacquie's comment was for this particular question, providing the opportunities for farmers to speak to other farmers about agritourism is acknowledged as the Holy Grail. One must remember through the southern and northern hemisphere, differences in climate, time zones, agricultural production time periods, interest crops, etc. All right, Rob?
Hello. So I think you hit the nail on the head totally when you said a good idea is a good idea. And to be fair, we never switch off, even when we're on vacation in Italy or in a ski chalet. You're always looking around. How are the merchandise in it? How are they displaying it? And we pick up so many good ideas from going places like that. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are. I mean, we've just been to Marrakesh this time. And, you know, there's some crazy merchandising ideas out there. Bringing it back to best practice, the rules, they don't travel, but the good idea travels amazingly well. You never know where you're going to be when you're going to see the next idea.
And I think we have lost Pandering, so let's turn this back over to anyone else. What benefits do you believe exist in associations, or for that matter, just farms in general, building relationships across geographic lines? And as far as I'm concerned, this can be geographic lines locally, or it can be globally. Please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pumai Weigert. I'm from Go Farm Hawaii. So I'm from Hawaii, representing Hawaii. I'm also here representing the Hawaii Agritourism Association. And I would say that probably for us, it's really kind of that networking and collaboration, like what we can, and I think even for our government and agency, you know, for Hawaii, we really have branded with sun, surf, sea, and that's been a really extractive kind of tourism for us, where like people don't really connect. They kind of just come into this fantasy world, which has kind of been detrimental to our local, like ourselves as a community. We're also seeing a lot of I want to say uprise or pushback from our native communities, our cultural communities, in regards to natural resources, kind of like how we manage our natural resources, and being able to come to things like this and connect with people across the globe and sort of see what are the solutions, what are the strategies, like leader to leader, and then being able to go back home to Hawaii and all of our like different rural and regional communities and be able to show examples. I feel like that's a big, even just hearing what other people are doing. Like, was there any proof of concept? One, to prove to our rural and cultural communities that these are possibilities, but then also, like many of us were sharing before, like also to our governments. And that agritourism isn't just something that like a promotional tool to use when you just want to talk about like farm to table, but like as an actual tool of, like everything they said in our keynote this morning, like keeping traditions alive, agritourism for agriculture and not just for tourism. So really also changing the messaging that we use. I think being able to build those, like what is the world doing? I think Hawaii is always kind of looking, or is looking at that more. And the world being just anywhere else that is not Hawaii. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you to everyone who's shared and spoke today.
Fantastic. Hawaii has such a wide range of agritourism opportunities. great. Anyone else have anything to share? Please.
So I'm here today, my wife and I, representing our farm, Kucha's Maple Shop in Westfield, Vermont. We're a dairy farm, maple syrup operation, and we run a bed and breakfast. So we live close to the Canadian border. So we're talking about international. Hawaii is far away, but Canada is very close. So there are a lot of geographic similarities to where we live to just north of the border. And because we are right next to a ski resort, which used to be a ski resort, now it's a 4-season resort. There's activity going on there year round, sometimes 3 weddings on the same day. And so anyways, my point is that many of our guests are from Canada and we're from the US, but they come down, they go to skiing or whatever. They like to know what else they can do in the area. So we have kind of this, I'm drawing on a little bit of experience in the past when I was president of the Vermont Maple Sugar Makers Association. Early in I think about 2000, we started this event called Maple Open House Weekend, which was highlighting one weekend in March where most sugar houses that wanted to participate were open to that. That's one thing. The other thing is that there's the International Maple Syrup Institute, which is an international maple organization, meaning US and Canada, not as far as what we sing here. So anyways, our organization, that organization, and many other maple organizations work together to kind of have links to other websites. So when somebody's looking at that, whether they're doing a tourist destination or just looking for information about maple syrup and the goodness of it and how it's mostly made by farm families throughout the region, I just see sort of a connection to the question that you asked. And I think that that example might be able to be replicated in other industries. So I don't know if this is doing anything for you, but I just thought I'd share that.
No,
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, I am getting the 1-minute note, so we will not be able to get to our last and final question, but I do want to thank, first off, everyone in the audience who participated, but I most especially want to thank Rob and thank Pandering for coming on. I do apologize greatly for all of the AV, whatever, Zoom type issues that apparently we had. I'm glad that we could finally get it worked out and we could at least hear some comments from you. I also want to thank Jacqui for being able to connect and to provide her answers in advance so that we could hear some thoughts from her. So let's give them a round of applause for coming. And also, I know for myself, I'm sure for Rob, for anyone else, please reach out, ask any questions. I know that we're available for anything else, any follow-up that you would like to have. Again, there is information about NAFDMA at the back if you have any further questions, as well as my business card as well. Thank you.